What's up, guys? Swift here with a Day 3 recap. Let's get right into it. Ryan Poles started Day 3 off exactly how I predicted, trading down from the first spot in round 4. He picked up a 5th rounder, making up for the pick he traded to move up and get Tyreek Stevenson. After picking 3 straight defensive players on Day 2, Poles came back with some offensive playmakers on Day 3. He found really good value snagging Texas running back Rashawn Johnson and Cincinnati's speedster wide receiver Tyler Scott. Both players were great values where they were picked. Rashawn Johnson is a great pass blocker who can catch passes out of the backfield. He backed up Bijan Robinson and gets overlooked, but he could have transferred and been a starter at most schools. He chose to stay at Texas and be part of the best 1-2 punch in the entire nation. He also learned valuable skills as a pass blocker and has less carries on him than most draft prospects, meaning his legs are fresh and he's ready to take off in the NFL. I really like the Rashawn Johnson pick. I think he'll be our 3rd down back early in his career, but he has 3-down potential. Jordan Silvera was a big fan of this guy. His highlights are so fun to watch. I can't wait to study more of his tape. Then we get to Cincinnati's Tyler Scott. He went after his teammate Trey Tucker, which was very curious to me because almost every scout has Scott graded higher, and he looked way better at the Senior Bowl. He had more production, he's faster, he was the team's #1 option in the passing game. He scored 8 touchdowns this year and ran a 4.29 40-yard dash. It really makes no sense how Trey Tucker went higher, but hey, that's the NFL draft for you. Scott is an undersized guy who took Alec Pierce's role in the Cincinnati offense and was very productive this season. Scott has drawn some Darnell Mooney comparisons. He's a burner with special teams potential, and I think he can also play the slot role on offense. Right now, we don't have a true slot guy. Claypool can be a power slot, and DJ Moore can line up anywhere. But Scott fits our offense in a variety of ways and could potentially replace Mooney if Poles lets him walk. Another great pick in my opinion. We then got to the 5th round, and Poles kept his value hat on, taking heralded Oregon linebacker Noah Sewell, who probably would have went in the 2nd round if he came out last year, but he stayed another year and his stock dropped. He's the brother of Lions tackle Penei Sewell and was an awesome value in the 5th round. He actually rushed the passer a lot more this season, and I think he has some potential as a situational pass rusher. Look out for that. I'll definitely look more into it when I study his tape. Next up is Minnesota corner Terrell Smith, who was a popular pick in the 2nd round of mock drafts this offseason. Similar to Tyreek Stevenson, he's another athletic, rangy, physical corner who can play outside on the boundary. He fits Poles' profile and is a similar style corner to Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson. Some people speculate us taking Terrell Smith and Tyreek Stevenson is bad news for JJ. I can see it both ways. Stevenson is good enough to eventually be our #1 corner, and Terrell Smith has enough talent to take over as a starter next season if Poles moves on from Jalen. So I get it. I also don't think it prevents him from re-signing Jalen in any way. Think about it like this. Tyreek, Terrell Smith, and Kyler Gordon are all going to be on rookie contracts for at least 3 more seasons. So he's not paying big money to any of his cornerbacks. So he has plenty of freedom to lock Jalen Johnson up for 3 or 4 years and then have good depth at the position with Stevenson, Smith, and Kyler Gordon. And then in 3-4 years, you decide which cornerbacks you want to keep. I think it was another good value pick, but there were a few defensive ends on the board I would have liked. We didn't have a pick in the 6th round, but we had 2 more in the 7th. Another defensive tackle was selected first in Travis Bell, and then a versatile safety in Kendall Williamson. Travis Bell's a 6-foot, 310-pound defensive tackle out of Kennesaw State. He's the only player we drafted I was not familiar with. He's described as being a hustle player with a non-stop motor that Eberflus will love. He scored an 8.26 on the RAS score. he has a chance to be a rotational defensive lineman. Poles called him one of the coolest people you will ever meet. He really wanted to be a Bear, said he told Poles at the Top 30 visit that he just did not want to leave. He seems like a cool dude with a great story. Our defensive line needs as much talent as we can get. I'll definitely be breaking down his tape soon. Our last pick was Stanford strong safety Kendall Williamson. He's a 6-foot, 200-pound safety prospect who's known for his hard hitting and ability to play the run. He's an in-the-box safety who is athletic enough to be a third safety. At this time, he's more of a backup who can bring his athleticism and hard hitting to our special teams unit. These are the kind of guys GMs take at the very end of the 7th round. He should make the roster and be a core special teams contributor. That was our day 3. I think most of us expected defensive end to be added at some point in the draft, but Poles talked about not finding the right fit in his press conference. I think it's possible we sign another defensive end. I've heard a rumor we might sign someone that you guys would actually love, but I'm waiting to see if I can get any more concrete details before I get anyone excited. That being said, Ryan Poles did improve the defensive line drastically, and he actually made the defensive ends better. I said during free agency that after we signed DeMarcus Walker and Rasheem Green, that they were both defensive ends who could also be used to help fill the hole at 3-tech. However, after the draft, things have changed. We drafted 2 guys who can play 3-tech, actually 3 if you count Bell. I'll have a new depth chart video coming out tomorrow, but think about this. Our defensive tackles are now set. We have 5 that should make the roster. Justin Jones, Gervin Dexter Sr., Zach Pickens, Travis Bell, and Andrew Billings. Having 2 very talented day 2 picks at defensive tackle has changed the landscape of what DeMarcus Walker and Rasheem Green will do, at least from my perspective. It's definitely possible that Poles has always viewed them as defensive ends, but like I said, the draft would clear that up for us, and it has. So now at defensive end, we have DeMarcus Walker, who should start on the left side at left end, and then we have 3 guys to compete at right end: Rasheem Green, Dominique Robinson, and Trevis Gibson. I like all 3 players. I think Dom Rob has a good chance to be a breakout player this year. So things aren't as bad as they seem at defensive end, but it is probably our weakest position on the roster by far. I expect Poles to sign a veteran between now and training camp. What about at center? Well, Ryan Poles apparently did not want a rookie center with all the youngsters on this offensive line, and when you think about it like that, it kind of makes sense. Center is the leader, they're responsible for line calls, and the rest of our line is very young and inexperienced. Tevin Jenkins has less than a full season of starting experience, Braxton Jones has 1 season as a starter, and Darnell Wright is coming in as a day 1 rookie at right tackle. So having a veteran presence at center should help the O-line this season. Cody Whitehair was a captain last season, and even if he's just average, he will be a big improvement over Sam Mustipher. We also have Lucas Patrick on the roster, so the offensive line seems pretty solid heading into this season. We don't have our long-term answer at center, but we have a ton of picks in next year's draft, and you can't fix every hole on the roster. I'm overwhelmingly excited for this year's draft class. I believe it's the best one for the Bears in the last 20 years based off of early scouting. A lot of potential core players for this team that could be long-term building blocks. I love it. I give the draft an A-. The only thing I would have done differently is take an edge rusher at some point and probably would have grabbed a young center to learn from Whitehair and Patrick, but Poles may view Doug Kramer as that guy. We will see. What a day, guys. I had a 5-hour-long live stream. If you were there, I appreciate you guys. You're the best. Stacks fell asleep with food in his lap. Someone else in the chat said they fell asleep with food in their mouth. You guys are crazy and wild. Much love. One more side note, anyone was there, have you got a scouting report on Burger King's chicken fries yet? I'll be breaking down this entire rookie class very soon. Stay tuned. Please hit the like button for me. And until next time, bear down.
Swifty in the house!